All right, so we're on to the next section of this property, this sidewalk entryway. You can see there's a lot of moss, a lot of algae. We've got some lichens building up. All right, the patio's looking real nasty. Okay. This isn't looking so good. At the doors, patio. Now when this gets wet, it's gonna be jet black, slick, real slippery. For this project, we're gonna be using the Hustler. I believe it's 4220. I don't know. Anyways, it's a 4200 psi unit. It's a belt drive. We have the 20-inch Hustler surface cleaner, and we're gonna go ahead and make this look good. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Oh, jeez, so dirty. Damn it, Smokey. Just when I was getting into that. Oh my goodness, Smokey. What did you press? We gotta get out of here right now. Oh my goodness. We gotta find your vaccine passports. Do you think Mama will let us bring us their Pop-Tarts?
And now, a moment of silence for all of our viewers over at the Boring Channel.
Alright. Well, I tell you what, that was boring as hell. And if you like that, I have more of that over at the Boring Channel.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. If you enjoy this type of work, this nasty, dirty, dingy stuff getting cleaned, then welcome to your new YouTube home. I think I gotta be the only YouTuber that is dumb enough to drive 250 miles so that I can work for free. But you know what? I knew it'd make an awesome video for you guys, and I'm down to do it. So this particular property, we got about 7 different videos on, so you'll see some of those trickling out. This is the one where we did the crazy dirty sidewalk that looks like it's never been cleaned. I guarantee you it hasn't. The really mossy bricks, the one with the bird bath. We spent, I want to say, somewhere around 12 to 14 hours on this property doing cleaning all around it. So, you know, I spent a couple days at the property, and I think when it's all said and done, everything came out looking beautiful. There's a few things I would like to go back. That's right, I'm back in Tulsa, and I'd like to go back to this property because I hate to leave things unfinished. But we'll have to see. If you guys support us, we'll go back and make another Arkansas trip, power washing crazy stuff. I'm not opposed to that. Now, of course, the big plus side for me there is that I get to spend time with my parents. This is actually in the city that they live in. And while it's a beautiful place, it is a little impoverished town, which means a lot of the luxury services like power washing have never been done. Now, with the amount of work that I did at the property, it would have been every bit of $2,000. So, you know, this was obviously a pretty big gift, and the house that we're working on currently is actually up for sale, so I think it'll help the house sell. So, you know, kindness for them, and we are able to get good footage for you, so works for me. Anyways, having said all that, right now I'm getting the brick wet with my ball valve. Basically, my hose is hooked up to my machine, and it's pushing water through, and the valve I have just barely cracked open, so it's like holding your thumb over a hose, and it just shoots a higher pressure out. If I open it all the way, it just comes out full force, but it's low pressure. Now that we have it wet, we're going to come in with the chemicals. I'm using Pool Essentials Cleaner. You can buy it in a gallon jug at Walmart. You can also buy a chlorine granule, and then you can put that in a 5-gallon bucket and mix it yourself. I typically don't do that. For the amount of work that I'm doing on power washing side, it's easier just to have these jugs, put a bunch of them in the back of the truck, and then tote them around. And then when I'm done, I don't have to worry about all this extra chemical, or not having the chemical, or not having, it's just easier for me. And I'm using a pump sprayer for a lot of stuff that I do. So, mixing it in a 5-gallon bucket just wouldn't work well for me with where I am at in the power washing game. Now, if we do look to scale up, which I'm honestly contemplating it because I enjoy the work. Anyways, if we look to scale it up, we will definitely start mixing our own chemical because it would save money. But currently it's about $4 per gallon. I've got a 2-gallon sprayer, and what I'll do is I'll mix that 50-50, which brings it down to about 5% SH, which is still pretty stout. But it cuts right through stuff. So when you spray it on moss, it'll start turning the moss white, and you can see it already working on the concrete here. All that turning white is algae dying away. So it's pretty impressive, really cool to see in action. You do have to be careful not to get it on plants. So part of why I spray the concrete before I start is I'm actually getting the concrete wet so that we have even distribution of the liquid, because if you put a liquid on top of a liquid, it spreads out better. Just think of the water on there as a lubrication so that the chemical adheres and spreads correctly. And then the other thing is any plants, so all that monkey grass that's down the side of the walkway there, we want to get that wet. We want to make sure that it's wet. And the reason being is we don't want the chemical to adhere to the plant. If it adheres to the plant, it will bleach that plant out and kill it. So you have to be really careful. If there's a lot of landscaping around you and it's expensive landscaping, I would highly suggest taking your time, being cautious so that you don't get overspray onto the plants. And if you do, it's okay. Don't worry. Just come in and immediately rinse it off as quick as you possibly can, and you're going to be okay. So I'm actually putting that SH on the door. I wish I would have had the camera turned towards it. This was the first time that I had sprayed it on something like that door, and it just melted right off. So it was very impressive to me. At this point, I was still learning about using this chemical. Now we've done it quite a bit, and I feel pretty proficient. Obviously, there's more for me to learn about the business, but as far as using this particular chemical, I feel pretty confident with it. The next step, let's mess with some rust. So I am looking for some driveways that have rust. I'm going to be using some muriatic acid. Obviously, you got to take a little more caution, and with messing with chlorine, it's one thing to not wear a respirator and glasses and everything if you're in a well ventilated area, but with acid, obviously I've got to be wearing rubber gloves and make sure that I don't get it on my skin, because it will jack me up. Now, if you watch a lot of my videos, I've mentioned this before, I'm not the safety Sally, which might be crazy if you realize, like, I used to be on a safety committee at a factory, and I gotta tell you, when you work factory work, they don't really care. They're like, hey, you over there, you're going in the safety team. So just throwing it out, a lot of that safety stuff when I was at the factory was BS. There were a few things that I really agreed with, like lockout, tag out, and stuff like that if you're going to be working with machines, which is basically a system where you lock down the machine so that there's no stored energy that can actually crush you. So I used to climb into these massive machines that close under 500 tons, and I would have to clean out the molds and stuff like that. Not molds like what are on the concrete, but a mold that shapes something. Like, say you have a cup. Well, that cup has a mold that turns it into that. What we were making was like Clorox and Windex sprayers. But yeah, it was a very interesting job, and I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But ultimately, I ended up being in business for myself, and I think that's a good thing for me, because I actually enjoy that a lot more in life. It brings me a lot of fulfillment, and especially when we get to share content on the channel and talk about our journey and where we've come and where we are hoping to go, and that kind of stuff. So now from there, after I've got all the chemical, we did let it sit, and there's some dwell time. Some of this darker black algae, it doesn't change color, but the green stuff goes from like a dark green to almost a white color. You know, so all the lichens and moss and stuff like that, you definitely see a transition. But I should have given it a little longer. You know, I gave it about 5 minutes, but I should have given it a little longer, about 10 minutes or so, and it would have been fine. If I didn't use it at a, well, it wasn't a strong mixture, so 50-50 and you get 5%, it's okay. It's not super strong, but if you spray it on straight, you'll see moss change colors instantly. So, you know, the higher the strength, the less dwell time you would need for it to activate and do its job. Now, having said that, the higher the strength, the more safety you need to take for yourself, and you need to be cautious of what you're applying it to. You know, normally with concrete, you're gonna have a hard time messing concrete up. It's a good place to start if you are wanting to start power washing, because, like I said, it's just hard to mess up. Now, I'm not saying you can't. If you run into a brand new driveway and they want it cleaned, I would suggest using low pressure. I'm sure you can, you know, jack the surface up if it's got a very high polished surface. Now, as far as these old bricks and stuff, I'm not going to do any damage, man. They're primed and ready. They've been around for a long time. So what we're using here is the 20-inch surface cleaner. It's Hustler, but I believe Simpson brand is the one that actually makes it. So, you know, they make a lot of power washing gear, and then companies go through and put their brands and logo on it. But this is a very good surface cleaner. Now, it doesn't have the rollers. Some people like the rollers, some people don't. It just comes down to your personal preference. The good thing about rollers is you can move side to side a lot easier. But, you know, with this surface cleaner, just dragging on the ground, I don't think it's bad at all. Now, you can buy rollers separate and add them onto your surface cleaner. If you don't have them on there, it's really not that big a deal. And then as far as what tips we're using, I couldn't tell you. I haven't looked. I imagine we'll swap them out down the road as they get plugged up. We've got a couple spares that came with it, but it's just the stock tips that came on the surface cleaner. And what I mean by that is there's an actual spray bar underneath that spins around really fast, right? And that's what's actually doing the cleaning, is just instead of having a spray wand where you see it and it's shooting one direct pattern, it's got two of them underneath and it spins so that it covers a larger surface area, which is a really big plus side to the surface cleaners, is that you can get a large area knocked out very quick with a lot less wear and tear on your body. You know, it's pretty ergonomical, which is very important. If you're going to be using a machine all day, you don't want to be hurting at the end of the day. You know, it's just like when I'm talking about the mowing business. If you're going to be mowing all day and you're going to be cutting a lot of lawns, it behooves you, sir, to get away from push mowers and invest into a larger riding mower or stand on or walk behind. It's in your best interest for your body long term to progress into machines that will allow you to get more work done in a shorter amount of time with less wear and tear on your body. Efficiency and quality is the name of the game with business. You want to be able to get stuff done efficiently so that you can get more production done, but you want to maintain your quality. Now with the ball valve, I just want to be clear that the main purpose is not so that it can be used as a tool to rinse off the concrete or get it wet. It's actually so that I can control the pressure coming out of the machine, which means I can shut it off. That way I can leave the machine running, shut the pressure off, and be able to change what tool I'm using. So, you know, if I want to switch from the surface cleaner to a wand, then I can switch by just shutting off the pressure and then actually swapping it out. But if you have no ball valve, then there's going to be pressure going all the way to that hose, and because it's a hydraulic system, which means, you know, it's under high pressure, you're going to have to shut off the machine, bleed off the pressure, and then you can change it out. So that ball valve just makes it a lot more functional, and it speeds up the process. It keeps you from having to stop and start your machine. It just makes life a lot easier. So if you are looking to get into the power washing business, I would highly suggest the setup that I'm using if you're just getting into it. Now, if you're going to be doing a lot more production, I don't know, maybe you would need a larger machine, but this is, I mean, this will get a lot of work done in a really quick time. Now, I have used the Craftsman little 2 gallons a minute machine, which, you know, pressure's one thing, the gallons per minute are what people say is really important, which I would have to agree with after using a larger machine. You're just putting out a lot more volume, and the machine's able to stay consistent. What happens with a lot of these smaller machines, the pumps aren't really built well, and almost right away you'll hear them surging. You know, they'll rev up and down trying to maintain pressure. And even though they're only putting out 2 gallons a minute, they just can't maintain pressure. So that was something that I've had several power washers now, and that was something that always frustrated me with the smaller units. Now with this Husqvarna, I haven't had that issue once, other than occasionally your hose will be kinked and you won't realize it, and then you go, oh, easy fix. Yeah, you know, you just, with a little bit of troubleshooting, you can identify, okay, it's the hose is kinked way up there, and so then you just obviously unkink the hose. But as far as the actual machine doing it on its own when everything's hooked up properly, I've had no issues with it so far. It's been a very good machine. Now, they're not paying me to say that. They did provide the power washer at no charge to us, which was awesome because it allows us to create this type of content. So, you know, that goes into play obviously with my opinion on it. But I think the machine, relative to the size, you know, you're gonna find a machine that's that size, 4 gallons a minute with 4,000 psi is gonna be probably a good machine. And I think it's kind of like mowers. All commercial mowers at a certain size are built pretty comparable. You know, there's little things that are better or worse from one machine to the next, but in reality, they're all pretty comparable because they're staying pretty competitive. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking to get into the business and you're wanting to start power washing, the machine I think is around $1,700 or $1,800. A surface cleaner you can get about for, you know, $300 or $400. The ball valve is about $30 or $40. And the machine's going to come with the hose and a pressure wand. So yeah, you do that and you're good to go. And all you'll have to do from that point is just advertising. And if you are going into business, don't be scared about talking about yourself. A lot of people are afraid to talk about themselves. And I don't mean vainly talk about yourself, but what I'm saying is if you aren't willing to promote yourself or your business, nobody else will. And nobody else is going to know that you're in business just because you had the thought that you want to go in business. You're going to have to put yourself out there. This applies to power washing, it applies to lawn care, it applies to the painting company, it applies to any business you're in. If you do not promote your company, it will not take off. It's just like this YouTube channel. I promote the hell out of this YouTube channel. Now, I do that because I believe in it. Just like my business, just like my marriage, just like anything else that I am involved in. If I'm going to invest my time, it's because I believe in it. So, you know, I think the YouTube is going to have great possibilities for me? If you're starting a business, do you believe for yourself that your business is going to have great possibilities for you? Is it going to make changes in your life that you're looking for? What are your goals around that business? And then from there, once you know your goals, where you're wanting to go with it, then you can easily figure out what you're going to have to do to get there. A lot of the times, if you're just trying to, people talk about wanting to have a huge company, and they don't even realize that they just need to make a certain amount to actually get what they're wanting. So, I'm not trying to diminish your goals. If you have big goals, keep your big goals. But what I am trying to say is, if you are wanting to start up, just don't be afraid to put yourself out there. You are going to get the random crazy person. It's inevitable. You're going to get the random crazy person that will call you up and say, I didn't want this sign on my door. Look, here's all you can do. You have to look for the proper signage, know whether you're in legal range to do whatever form of advertise you're doing. And, like for me, it's a lot of door hangers and stuff. If they don't have the proper signage on their door, there's no way I could know they didn't want one. So I just have to assume when I'm putting out the door hangers, they want one if they don't have the proper signage. So, if they call me up, I just say, hey, awesome. Well, did you have the proper signage? Oh, you didn't? Okay, well, this is a sign you're going to want. And, if you put a no soliciting sign, for a lot of people, that means the same thing. But you're going to want a sign that says no flyers or handbills. But, for me personally, I don't put a door hanger on somebody's door that says no soliciting. I just don't do that. At one point in time, I did. But, now I don't. It doesn't make a difference. It's whatever, dude. You just got to get out there. Soliciting, by the way, is actually knocking on the door and taking up their time. But, a lot of people, they don't understand the definition of it, so they get up in arms about it either way. So I would suggest, if you're putting out door hangers, just avoid putting a sign on a door that says no soliciting or door hangers. And watch, just from that comment in this video, I'm going to get somebody that complains in the comments about it. But I will say, I've gotten a lot of jobs from actually putting flyers and door hangers on properties that had no soliciting signs on their door. A lot of people rent houses. If that sticker was on the door before they moved there, then it's probably going to stay there. So my first couple of years in business, I would put one on those doors too. Now I don't. I'm not that hungry for work. We stay busy. And really, the longer that you're in business, the less you have to do the crazy advertising, and less you are wanting to continue to grow past a certain point. So you'll get to the spot where it's very, very comfortable in business, which is fine. But if you want to continue to grow and make your business a very large company, you have to push past that comfort zone and continue to press forward. And a lot of the times with advertising, I think as business owners, we get tired of seeing the same flyer or door hanger or just whatever it might be for ad. I would say have a set it and forget it type of mentality. I'm not saying don't test out and do split test on what door hanger will be more effective, but what I am saying is, just because you're tired of seeing it does not mean that it's not working anymore. So the other thing is, the more somebody sees your particular flyer or door hanger, the more likely they are to call you and to buy from you, because it shows that you have longevity, that you're in business, you're not a fly-by-night company, you're trustworthy. There's a lot that they can take mental note from just by continually seeing your advertisement on their door.
All right, I am much happier with that. It cleaned up really nice. Very nice. Now some of it has these black marks, and it's just algae that won't come off. I'm sure I could get it if I attacked it with hard enough tip, but then I'm compromising the mortar possibly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and treat it again, and then I'm going to let it sit, and then I'm going to rinse it off. Dirty House Thug, thank you for you know, giving me some tips on what to use, how to use it, and you know, so I appreciate it. He also told me I could use the ball valve for rinsing off. That's a pretty nice trick. As far as the rest of it, it's coming in, cleaning up really nice. This is quite the transformation, especially over here if you remember how bad it was. And I even cleaned up the stone a little bit. I think I would have left that if I did it again, although I do like it, but I would have left it. Now the doors, remember the algae was on there? That algae, I didn't put any pressure on it, and in fact I didn't even rinse it. I sprayed it, I came back, and it was gone. Same thing over here. I sprayed the algae, came back, and I was really surprised, because by the time I got up here there was no algae on it. And I mean, if that's soft washing, that's what's up. Just spray it down, hit it with the chemical, come back, and you're like, whoa. So, you know, same thing. I clean the rocks on this side. I don't know if I do that again, because it's kind of cool seeing the algae on here. And you know, I killed them now, but it's kind of cool. I think that would have been a nice contrast from formal to informal, you know, man-made to natural. But you know, they'll grow back in time. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the brick again, and this is what I'm talking about with these darker black algae. With this darker black algae that's growing, it just will not come off. Now there's some green stuff. This green stuff would come off, but the darker black with it won't. I'm gonna go ahead and call that good on here, and I'm just gonna give it a, like I said, a post treatment. I'm gonna let it dwell, and I don't know, maybe I'll let it set. All right, hey, if you guys enjoyed this, let me know. Go ahead and check these before and after pictures out, and then right after that, YouTube thinks one of these videos would be good for you. Please subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.